Chosen one, stop whatever you are doing for a moment and listen carefully, because these words may be arriving at a time when you need them more than you realize. There is something happening within you that cannot be measured by what people see on the outside. You may still be dealing with pressure, unanswered questions, disappointment, exhaustion, or situations that seem to make no sense, but beneath all of that, something inside you has been getting stronger. Maybe you have noticed that you do not react to things the way you used to. People who once knew exactly how to trigger you may no longer have the same power. Situations that once would have caused you to panic may now make you pause, pray, and think before responding. You may have started walking away from arguments that you once felt obligated to win. You may have stopped chasing people who made you feel unwanted. You may have become quieter, more selective, and more protective of your peace. And perhaps this change has confused some people. They remember the version of you who explained everything, apologized even when you were not wrong, accepted less than you deserved, and kept returning to situations that drained your spirit. But that version of you is changing. You are learning that strength does not always make noise. Sometimes strength looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like walking away. Sometimes it looks like refusing to respond when your emotions are demanding a reaction. Sometimes it looks like continuing to believe in God's promises when your circumstances are telling you to give up. You may have thought the difficult seasons were evidence that something was wrong with you. You may have wondered why your journey required so much patience, why certain doors closed, why certain relationships ended, and why you had to spend so much time rebuilding yourself in private. But what if those seasons were not simply taking something from you? What if they were teaching you how to carry something greater? Isaiah 40 verse 31 reminds us that those who wait upon the Lord will renew their strength. Your exhaustion does not define you. Your rejection does not define you. Your past does not define you. And the opinions of people who misunderstood your journey do not have the authority to determine your future. Chosen one, you are not becoming strong because everyone finally recognizes your value. You are becoming strong because you continued when recognition disappeared. You kept going when nobody applauded. You kept praying when answers seemed delayed. You kept rebuilding after disappointment. And now, the strength that was developed in private is beginning to become visible. So do not rush away from this message. Listen closely. Because you are about to be reminded of what your difficult seasons were actually producing inside you, why your silence has become powerful, why certain doors had to close, why your boundaries are necessary, and why the strongest version of you may be the version that no longer needs to prove anything to anyone. Your story is not finished. You are still becoming. And what God is building inside you is stronger than what you have been through. Chosen one of the greatest changes happening inside you is that you are learning not to react to everything that tries to disturb your peace. There was a time when you felt responsible for explaining yourself to everyone. If someone misunderstood you, you immediately wanted to correct them. If someone accused you unfairly, you felt the need to defend your character. If someone walked away, you wanted to know why. If someone treated you disrespectfully, you wanted them to understand exactly how deeply their actions affected you. But something is changing now. You are beginning to realize that not every situation deserves your energy. Not every accusation needs an answer. Not every misunderstanding requires a long explanation. Not every person who leaves deserves to be chased. And not every battle is assigned to you. This is one of the reasons your silence may feel different lately. You are not silent because you are afraid. You are becoming silent because you are becoming disciplined. You are learning to pause before allowing your emotions to make decisions for you. There is tremendous power in that pause. When someone expects you to react and you choose peace instead, you have taken control of yourself. When someone tries to pull you back into an old argument and you refuse to participate, you are proving that the old version of you no longer has authority over your choices. When someone attempts to provoke you and you simply step away, you are protecting something more valuable than winning an argument. You are protecting your peace. And chosen one, people may misunderstand this transformation. Some people became comfortable with the version of you who was always available. They became comfortable with your explanations, your forgiveness, your constant attention, and your willingness to give another chance. So when you begin establishing boundaries, they may accuse you of changing. They are right. You are changing. But change is not always a bad thing. Sometimes God changes your heart because the environment around you can no longer support the person you are becoming. You are learning that forgiveness does not mean unlimited access. You can forgive someone and still keep your distance. You can wish someone well without inviting them back into your life. You can release resentment without reopening a door that repeatedly brought confusion and pain. That is not hatred. That is wisdom. Your silence is also teaching you something about identity. You no longer need everyone to agree with your version of the story before you can move forward. You no longer need every person to recognize your value before you can believe that you have value. God knows who you are even when people misunderstand you. And perhaps the greatest evidence of your growth is this: you are becoming less interested in proving yourself and more interested in becoming faithful to what God has placed before you. You are learning to let your character speak louder than your explanations. You are learning to let consistency answer questions that arguments never could. You are learning that peace is not weakness. Sometimes peace is evidence that you have finally become strong enough not to be controlled by every voice around you. So keep walking. Keep your heart clean. Keep your boundaries clear. And do not allow someone else's inability to understand your transformation to convince you that you are doing something wrong. The strongest version of you will not be the loudest version. It will be the most grounded version. The version that knows when to speak, when to wait, when to walk away, and when to trust God with what you cannot control. Chosen one, there is something you must understand before you step into your next season. Not every opportunity that looks good is actually good for you. Not every open door is a door you were meant to walk through. Not every person who suddenly recognizes your value has pure intentions. And not every invitation that makes you feel important is connected to your purpose. This is why discernment matters. You are entering a stage where more opportunities may begin appearing around you. People may notice your abilities. Conversations may change. Doors that once seemed impossible to access may suddenly begin opening. And when that happens, you must be careful not to confuse attention with alignment. Someone can admire what you carry and still want access to what you produce. Someone can praise your gift while secretly wanting to control how you use it. Someone can make you feel important while slowly pulling you away from the values that made you strong in the first place. That is why you cannot make every decision based on how impressive something looks from the outside. Ask yourself what the opportunity will require from you. Will you have to compromise your peace to keep it? Will you have to become someone you are not? Will you have to ignore the warning signs you already noticed? Will you have to abandon your relationship with God just to remain accepted in that environment? If the answer is yes, then you must have the courage to reconsider, no matter how attractive the opportunity appears. Joseph understood this principle. When he entered the palace, his position changed, but his source did not. He could serve in a powerful environment without allowing that environment to redefine his identity. He could receive responsibility without becoming controlled by the people around him. That lesson matters for you. You can enter new rooms without losing yourself. You can receive recognition without becoming addicted to recognition. You can become successful without allowing success to become your God. You can accept an opportunity without assuming that you must accept every condition attached to it. Sometimes the greatest test is not whether you can enter a room. It is whether you can remain yourself once you are inside. There will be moments when something looks like the answer to every prayer you have prayed. But you must remember that timing matters. Motives matter. Character matters. Peace matters. A door can be open and still be wrong. A relationship can feel exciting and still be unhealthy. An opportunity can be profitable and still cost you something you cannot afford to lose. That is why you must slow down. Pray before you commit. Observe before you trust. Look at patterns instead of promises. Pay attention to how people behave when they do not get what they want from you. Watch how they respond when you say no. Watch whether they respect your boundaries. Because character is often revealed when access is denied. Do not allow flattery to replace discernment. You have worked too hard to become spiritually and emotionally grounded just to surrender your judgment because someone finally noticed you. Remember, chosen one, recognition is not automatically confirmation. Sometimes the right door will require courage. Sometimes the wrong door will require compromise. Learn the difference. You do not have to chase what God has not assigned to you. You do not have to force yourself into spaces simply because important people are standing there. You do not have to prove that you belong by sacrificing your values. What is truly aligned with your purpose will not require you to destroy your identity to obtain it. So as new doors begin appearing, do not only ask, "Can I enter?" Ask, "Should I?" Ask, "Will this help me become who God is calling me to become?" Because your future is not determined by how many doors you enter. It is determined by whether you have the wisdom to recognize which doors are worth walking through. Chosen one, you need to stop looking at every delay as a rejection. There are seasons in your life that feel silent, empty, and confusing, but silence does not always mean that God has forgotten you. Sometimes the season that feels like nothing is happening is actually the season where the deepest work is taking place. You may look around and see other people moving faster. Someone else seems to have the relationship you wanted. Someone else received the opportunity you prayed for. Someone else appears to be living the life you thought would already be yours. And if you are not careful, comparison can make you believe that your delay means you have failed. But your timeline is not their timeline. God may be developing something in you that cannot be rushed. Think about David. He was anointed before he became king. The promise came before the position. Between the moment of anointing and the moment of visible fulfillment, there were difficult years filled with uncertainty, danger, waiting, and hidden preparation. The oil was real even when the crown was not visible. That means your current circumstances do not automatically determine the truth about your future. You may not see the evidence yet, but that does not mean nothing is happening. Moses also experienced a long wilderness season before stepping fully into his assignment. What looked like lost time became preparation. The wilderness changed the way he carried his strength. It taught him patience, humility, dependence, and endurance. And maybe your wilderness has been doing something similar. Perhaps you thought you were being pushed aside, when you were actually being prepared. Perhaps certain relationships ended because you were being separated from patterns that could not follow you into your next season. Perhaps certain opportunities disappeared because they would have given you access before you had the maturity to carry it. Perhaps you have been hidden because what God is developing inside you needs time before it can safely become visible. Do not despise hidden seasons. A seed does some of its most important work beneath the soil where nobody can see it. The roots grow before the branches appear. The foundation is built before the structure rises. And your character may be developing before your circumstances reveal the results. Look at how much you have changed. There were things that once controlled your emotions that no longer have the same power. There were people you once could not imagine living without, and now you understand that losing them did not destroy you. There were situations that once caused you to react immediately, but now you can step back, pray, and choose differently. That is progress. Maybe your breakthrough has not only been about receiving something new. Maybe it has been about becoming someone new. You are becoming more disciplined, more discerning, more patient, more protective of your peace, more willing to wait for what is right instead of accepting whatever arrives first. And that kind of transformation cannot always be measured by money, status, followers, relationships, or visible success. Sometimes the greatest evidence that you are moving forward is that you no longer desire the things that once kept you trapped. You no longer need the same approval. You no longer chase the same people. You no longer feel compelled to return to the same chaos. The old environment may still recognize you, but it no longer controls you. That is a powerful sign of growth. So do not allow a delayed answer to convince you that there is no answer. Do not allow a closed door to convince you that there are no doors ahead. And do not allow someone else's progress to make you despise your own process. There is preparation happening in your life that you cannot fully see yet. Trust the process. Keep building. Keep praying. Keep becoming. Because when the right season arrives, you will understand why certain things had to take longer than you wanted. You will realize that some delays protected you. Some endings redirected you. Some lonely seasons strengthened you. And some unanswered prayers were preparing you for an answer you were not yet ready to carry. Your hidden season is not necessarily your forgotten season. It may be the place where your roots are becoming strong enough to support everything that comes next. Chosen one, there is another level of strength that God is developing in you, and this level is not about becoming harder. It is about learning how to heal without allowing your pain to change the best parts of who you are. You have been through things that could have made you bitter. You have experienced disappointment, rejection, betrayal, misunderstanding, and moments when people you trusted did not treat you the way you expected. And after enough pain, it becomes tempting to build walls around your heart and call those walls strength. But there is a difference between protection and isolation. You need boundaries, but you do not need bitterness. You need wisdom, but you do not need suspicion. You need discernment, but you do not need to assume that everyone is against you. Real healing teaches you how to protect your peace without losing your compassion. Chosen one, forgiveness does not mean giving someone unlimited access to your life. You can forgive someone and still maintain distance. You can release anger without returning to the environment that wounded you. You can pray for someone without allowing them to repeat the same behavior against you. Sometimes the most mature response is simply to say, I wish you well, but I cannot go back. That is not hatred. That is wisdom. There are people you can love from a distance. There are people you can forgive without trusting again immediately. There are relationships that can end without you becoming their enemy. And there are doors that can remain closed even after your heart has completely forgiven what happened behind them. Do not confuse forgiveness with permission. You are allowed to protect what God is building inside you. Your peace matters. Your time matters. Your attention matters. Your spiritual growth matters. You cannot continue giving every person access to your energy and then wonder why you feel exhausted. But there is another side to this lesson. Do not become so protective that you reject every person who challenges you. Not every correction is an attack. Not every disagreement is jealousy. Not every uncomfortable conversation means someone is trying to destroy you. Sometimes God allows people to point out something in us that we cannot see for ourselves. You need people who can celebrate you without worshiping you. People who can encourage you while still telling you the truth. People who can see your gifts and remind you that gifts come with responsibility. Being chosen does not make you above correction. Being gifted does not make you perfect. Being called does not mean you have nothing left to learn. True strength allows you to receive correction without collapsing. It allows you to say, "I was wrong," without believing your entire identity has been destroyed. It allows you to learn without becoming ashamed. That is maturity. And chosen one, you must also stop believing that your pain has to remain forever if you want to remain strong. Your wounds may have taught you discernment, but you do not need to remain wounded to remain discerning. Your difficult past may have taught you resilience, but you do not need to remain angry to remain ambitious. You can keep the lesson and release the pain. You can remember what happened without allowing it to control every decision you make today. You can heal without becoming naive. You can love without becoming blind. You can trust God while still using wisdom. And perhaps that is the deeper transformation happening inside you. You are not simply learning how to survive what hurt you. You are learning how to live beyond it. The strongest version of you will not be the version that has the biggest walls. It will be the version that has the clearest discernment, the healthiest boundaries, the cleanest heart, and the courage to move forward without carrying yesterday's bitterness into tomorrow. You do not need revenge. You need restoration. You do not need everyone to understand your pain. You need to stop allowing that pain to define your future. Let God heal what people could not fix. Let wisdom guide what emotion once controlled. And let your next season be built from peace, truth, discipline, and purpose rather than fear. Because real strength is not becoming impossible to hurt. Real strength is becoming healed enough that what hurt you no longer controls who you become. Chosen one, there comes a moment when you have to stop trying to prove who you are to people who already made up their minds about you. You have spent enough time explaining your heart, defending your intentions, and waiting for someone to finally understand what you have survived. But your future cannot depend on another person's recognition. You may still be waiting for an apology. You may still be hoping someone from your past will finally admit that they were wrong. You may still imagine what you would say if the person who rejected you suddenly came back and realized your value. But chosen one, what happens if that apology never comes? What happens if they never understand? What happens if they never recognize how much you have grown? You still have to move forward. Your freedom cannot depend on someone else's maturity. You cannot keep standing at the doorway of yesterday waiting for someone who walked away to return and explain why they left. At some point, you have to accept that God can give you closure without giving you the conversation you wanted. You do not need the people who underestimated you to become witnesses of everything you accomplish. You do not need to succeed just so someone from your past can regret losing you. Because if every achievement is secretly meant to prove something to someone else, then that person still has influence over your future. You may have left the relationship. You may have left the environment. You may have blocked the number. But if you are still building your life around their opinion, they are still occupying space inside your mind. Let that go. Your purpose is bigger than revenge. Your future is bigger than proving a point. Your peace is more valuable than winning an argument with someone who may never understand you. David had an opportunity to retaliate against Saul. He had reasons to be angry. He had opportunities to take matters into his own hands. Yet he understood that having the power to do something does not automatically mean you have permission to do it. That is the kind of strength you need now. You need the strength to rise without becoming arrogant. The strength to succeed without becoming obsessed with attention. The strength to become visible without becoming controlled by approval. The strength to forgive without returning to unhealthy patterns. And most importantly, the strength to surrender your identity completely to God. Because the strongest version of you is not the version that everyone fears. It is the version that no longer needs everyone to validate it. You can walk into a room without demanding attention. You can receive praise without becoming dependent on it. You can receive criticism without allowing it to destroy your confidence. You can walk away from an impressive opportunity when you know it is not aligned with your values. You can say no without feeling guilty. You can say yes without being controlled by fear. You can move forward without constantly looking behind you. That is freedom. And chosen one, perhaps this is what your difficult seasons were preparing you for. Not merely to become stronger, but to become stable. Not merely to become successful, but to become faithful. Not merely to receive attention, but to create impact. Attention asks, who is watching me? Purpose asks, what can I do with what God has placed inside me? That difference changes everything. So stop measuring your progress by how many people notice you. Measure it by how consistently you honor what God has entrusted to you. Pray when nobody knows you are praying. Work when nobody is applauding. Stay disciplined when nobody is checking. Choose integrity when compromise would be easier. Protect your peace when chaos feels familiar. And keep moving even when the results are not immediate. Because your next season will not be sustained by motivation alone. It will require character. It will require consistency. It will require humility. It will require courage. And it will require you to stop carrying the identity of the person who was constantly trying to survive. You survived. Now you can build. You healed. Now you can serve. You learned. Now you can move wisely. You became stronger. Now you can use that strength for something greater than proving people wrong. And remember this. You do not have to remain wounded in order to remain powerful. You do not have to remain angry in order to remain ambitious. You do not have to remain guarded in order to remain discerning. You can keep the wisdom and release the bitterness. You can keep the fire and release the anger. You can keep the lesson and release the weight. The wound may have introduced you to your strength, but it does not have to manage your strength forever. God can take what once broke you and transform it into wisdom. He can take your disappointment and turn it into discernment. He can take your waiting and turn it into patience. He can take your hidden season and turn it into preparation. So walk forward without needing permission from your past. You know what you have survived. God knows what He is developing inside you. And you do not need to convince everyone else. Your life will speak for itself. Chosen one, before you leave this message, take a moment and breathe. Look at how far you have come. There were seasons when you did not know how you would make it through, yet somehow you kept moving. There were nights when you cried in silence, moments when you questioned everything, and days when giving up seemed easier than continuing. But you are still here. You are still standing. And that means your story is not finished. Do not walk away from this message believing that your strength came from never being hurt. Your strength came from learning how to keep your heart alive after being hurt. You learned how to continue after disappointment. You learned how to trust again after betrayal. You learned how to stand alone without believing you were abandoned. You learned how to say no without feeling guilty. You learned how to walk away without needing revenge. And now you are learning something even deeper: you do not need to prove your value to anyone. Let God handle the people who misunderstood you. Let God handle the people who rejected you. Let God handle the conversations you never received. You do not need to chase an apology. You do not need to force recognition. You do not need to make everyone understand your journey. The people who were meant to understand will understand, and the people who were not will eventually become part of the lesson. Your responsibility is to keep walking in truth. So when the next door opens, pray before you enter. When someone praises you, remain humble. When someone criticizes you, remain teachable. When someone rejects you, do not reject yourself. When something leaves your life, do not immediately assume that you have lost. Sometimes God removes what you are holding because He knows it cannot accompany you into what is next. And when you feel tired again, remember that rest is not failure. When you feel uncertain, remember that uncertainty does not mean you have been abandoned. When the process feels slow, remember that roots grow quietly. Your preparation may be invisible, but it is not meaningless. Now place your hand over your heart and declare: I release the need to prove myself. I release the opinions that kept me small. I release the bitterness I carried from yesterday. I release the fear of being misunderstood. I choose peace. I choose wisdom. I choose discipline. I choose healing. I choose alignment with God's purpose for my life. I will not trade my identity for attention. I will not trade my peace for acceptance. I will not trade my values for access. I trust God with my timing, my future, my relationships, and my next step. I am becoming stronger without becoming bitter. I am becoming wiser without becoming cold. I am becoming confident without becoming proud. And I will move forward without needing permission from my past. Chosen one, you do not need to chase every powerful room. You do not need to prove that you belong everywhere. The right doors will not require you to become someone you were never created to be. Your strength is not that everyone fears you. Your strength is that you know who you are. Your strength is that you know where your help comes from. Your strength is that you can walk away from what destroys your peace and still keep your heart clean. So go forward with courage. Go forward with humility. Go forward with faith. And if this message spoke directly to your spirit, write, I choose alignment, in the comments. Let those words be more than a comment. Let them become your decision. You are not going backward. You are not living for yesterday. You are not waiting for everyone to approve of you. You are moving forward with God. And what is truly meant for you will never require you to lose yourself to receive it.